Today is Magical Mosaics. I'm Autumn. I'm the creative guide. I'm excited to show you some techniques. Now, you could probably Google things and look on Pinterest and see a lot of these similar ideas. I'm sure they're with me because I've been exposed to them in some way or fashion in my life. But I like to take things that I see and put my own creative flair on them. And I'm going to challenge you during this workshop to do the same with anything I share. So we continue to expand and really explore art as an unlimited medium for creativity. Got it? All right. So one of the first things I wanted to do was show some examples of mosaic art that we have done, that my son Liam and I have done. This is your traditional glass mosaics you buy and grout. Okay, you can always go this route and make things. This is pretty heavy, so I've never hung it up. It's one way to make mosaic art, but it can be a little costly with buying all these products. So there's other things we can do with construction and cardboard and things you have around your house that are less expensive. So let's see what I did with Liam the other day. We had made this cityscape art. These were just cardstock squares decorated in different ways, and he chose this design and put it together. And I did measure these squares and make them 1 inch by 1 inch, but you don't have to do that. And today we're going to kind of explore of cutting and doing things. It doesn't have to be precise. And we also did he did a craft and we put a border on it. So one of your options is anything your child might be creating. Hey, can you make a mosaic border? And then here are some examples yesterday, Liam. This is the first technique I want to teach, which is pieces of construction paper just on cardboard, and they can overlap. They don't have to be precise. Now you could lay them out in lines and make it more precise, but we like the overlapping technique. It's a little easy. And he made this one and chose the word inspire. I made journey and create on a little heart. And I also explored some picture frame ideas. So this one I put black and blue and a little few dots on there. This one, instead of just squares, I used rectangle pieces. And then this one I cut and made triangles. So mosaics aren't always squares. They're lots of different shapes. We're going to explore that too during this workshop. And here's just a piece of art I made maybe 3 years ago using mosaic, like mosaic stone. And so we will be touching on making a nature scene with mosaic design. All right, so there's just a few examples. And we're going to start with the very first technique. So I do have a heart here, and I have some cardboard squares. This is just a pizza box that I cut. I had to use like a kitchen shears to cut it because it can be a little harder than other cardboards. But maybe you have something a little thinner and you can use regular scissors, whatever. The idea is to trace out or cut objects, squares. Hearts are nice, especially with Valentine's Day. We're going to decorate this, and I'm going to make sure I can do my camera so you can see as I do this. We're going to decorate this with an overlapping mosaic technique. This is something that my son with autism can do very easily, so I am drawn to it and I want to teach it first. This is very minimal fine motor skill required. You just apply pieces randomly until you cover all the surface. All right. The cool thing is you can pick the colors, pick the design, and then put a fun word on. So I do have 2 words here to choose from. I have dream and inspire. I think I'm going to choose dream today. And you can also just write this word, but I did print a few out to make it easy. You could write on with a Sharpie or trace something on another piece of construction paper and just tape it right on the front. So we're going to get started here and make sure you can see. And I'm going to choose my colors, which is going to be this bright green and this darker green and a yellow. Okay, the easiest way to cut squares for mosaic is going to be the short way on an 8 by 11 piece of paper, because it's less time for you to make it crooked. That's what I've learned. So I'm going to go ahead and put them all three together, even though one's a little bigger, depending on what paper. Two of these are cardstock, but I really like the color. And I'm just going to do my best. Like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. We're just making some strips here, best we can. All right, there's my first. I'm gonna go ahead and make another one. And one thing about this workshop is I might not be able to finish all the pieces. Actually, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to finish all the pieces during this hour. I will return to them and finish and be able to show. And the idea with mosaic art is that it takes time and patience and dedication. Okay, now I'm just going to hold these, and I think I can do it, even though it's 6 pieces of paper. I am just cutting them in squares. You don't have to do squares. You could do rectangles. You could cut another time and make these into triangles. But for now, we're just going to go with squares so I can show you how easy this is. This makes a fun, simple background. Okay, my hand's a little tired. All right, so I got my glue stick, trusty glue stick here, and I'm really just going to apply some and start sticking the pieces on. And I'm going to try to make sure the variety gets shown, right? When I was doing this with my son yesterday, we realized it was a little messy. So maybe having baby wipes or a towel nearby is a good option. If you're doing it, I'll be okay today by myself. But if you're working with kids, it's nice to have a little cleanup available because you are working with glue. So you see, I'm just being very random here. And if you overlap, you're going to want to make sure you put some glue on the next piece as you overlap that. And one of the things I like about mosaics is that it can be repetitive, and repetitive actions tend to relax our bodies, especially our children with autism. That's why they do a lot of repetitive stimming behaviors. But if you can give them a different activity to do, not saying that you have to stop every stimming behavior that your child has, but sometimes they get bored of those behaviors too. We always assume that the child wants to be hand flapping or jumping around. Or actually, kids have communicated like they would like something else to do with their hands. So this gives my son something else to do with his hands and to create something beautiful in the process. So it can be very regulating. And not just for individuals with autism, but for you, parents, or anyone else who just has a busy life. And it's fun to sit down with a project that has a beginning and an end, right? And create something using your imagination. And these could be gifts. I mean, birthdays, holidays. You could have a beautiful mosaic artwork to give. That one got a little turned in. So I'm just going to get the center mostly for this one. And show you the next step. Okay, so lots of randomness. This isn't taking any real thought, just to making the colors not too much, you know, I'm spreading the colors out, so not too many are overlapping in one area. You could use more than 3 colors. I've just chosen these colors. You can have fun with the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to put one more here. And probably get my word on next. Okay, so here's my word that's going to go in the center. So what I'll probably do is grab a green marker. Let's see, here's a green. I got these cool Crayolas that have like back and front colors. So this is my green. I'm not going to color this in extremely precise to save time. But I am going to color each letter green quickly and glue it on in the center. All right. So your kids could have fun choosing positive words. You know, maybe it's part of a homeschool activity. You do something and then you celebrate with a little bit of a craft and choosing a positive word. So there's my first example of just overlapping mosaics, choosing a word, putting in the center. Now I will finish these in later and be able to show you the completed version at some point. But I just wanted to show you that to start with. So did I measure my mosaics with a ruler? No. I just simply cut them, eyeing it up with the line and the scissors. Okay. There's Liam. He's like, yes, mom. Don't waste time being super precise. Get into your art. All right. The next project is really fun. I'm really excited about this. So you'll need a piece of paper. What we're going to do is create a nature scene, because a nature scene will have a few elements, such as a sky, a mountain, and a grassy plain, or a sand, beach, ocean, sky, boat. Just a few, 3 to 4 elements that you can include on it and mosaic up the shapes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm actually going to cut and glue construction paper to make some of the background. And this is so I don't have to worry about shading everything in with my colored pencils or markers. I already have some of the background done. We could start from complete scratch, do this completely by freehand. And we're using all of our, colors on white. So that's an option. But I'm going to go ahead and do it this way, so I don't have to worry so much about that. So my construction paper is a little bit over. So I'm going to cut this as my sky. I'm going to make a sky and an ocean and perhaps a boat on that ocean. Okay, so since this is a little bit bigger than I need, maybe I will trim a little piece off here. And I'm just going to glue this down onto my white cardstock. You don't need to do cardstock, but it does help with glue and keeping things more flat than regular computer paper. So I'm going to glue my background of my sky. And I'm going to use a light blue for my ocean because I want to add the shading. So if you start too dark with your background, you won't have a lot of flexibility for your shading. So start light. The lighter the colors, the better. You use the darker ones in your mosaics. So I don't need all of this paper either. And I might be able to just fold it over where I think I need. You don't have to be too precise. once again. And I will cut that. And since that end is smooth, I'm going to go ahead and make waves. Okay. And now I can glue my ocean. I am going to go ahead and glue my boat on too, and I think I'll be able to stick him like underneath since I have a little edge there. And I'm just going to choose pink for a contrast with my boat. And I'm not drawing or being too precise about what a boat might look like, because that's not my goal with this workshop. You could make it a lot prettier. Please make it as pretty as you want. Okay, that's just my boat. Something simple. And I'm going to have him, or her, I guess, the pink boat, kind of going here behind the wave. All right, it's pretty big, and it's pretty just right. 3 big chunks of color, nothing too exact yet. I'm gonna make sure I glue these pieces down properly before I start decorating them. Oh. Okay. So I think we'll start with the ocean so I can show you guys some ocean shading. So I'm going to make my mosaics a little bigger than I might if I'm on my own, just for our time constraints here. So I'm just going to make irregular shaped mosaics. They're not going to be squares like the other one. And some are going to be bigger than others. Hopefully you can see. I'm basically just taking that color and putting it into parts. It's going to look like rocks at first here. But now remember, this is my ocean water. So when I shade my ocean, I can make it look a little different than my boat and my sky. All right, I'm just going to do about half of this for the time restraints. I will be able to finish and show you the completed result later. All right, so now there's my mosaic starting with. Okay, I just freehand drew them on. Now, if I want to, that was a pencil. If I want to shade in part of a mosaic or the lines with blue. If you glued, you might want to let it dry for a while, like see the trickiness. Okay, I'm just going to kind of shade in parts. Maybe the boundaries, the edges of my border. Now, granted, this is just one technique. Okay, of shading in here kind of quickly. Grab a different blue. Making some lines because maybe I want it to look a little bit like an ocean, like water. Okay, so the mosaics I make for water might look a little different than the ones I make for sky. All right, so there's an example. Of making my ocean. Now let's go to the boat here. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab a red, I think, or a pink. Here we go. And these might be a little bit more square, like lines. Liam. So you can choose different designs for your different objects in nature. We're not making them look like what they really are, right? It's kind of impressionistic when you're doing mosaic art. Hopefully you can see all those smaller ones that I did there. And then of course you can see the glue underneath it. So here what I might do is just randomly shade in a few of the mosaics. Okay. And then I might take a different color and shade in a few others. Okay. Just making it look unique. Hopefully you can see this. I see it's very bright with my light and the pinkness. So I'm going to add a little bit of green now and show even more contrast here. So my boat, even though it's pink, might end up being very colorful. Okay. There's one idea for my boat. And now I'm going to work on the sky. So I'm going to grab orange. And, you know, sometimes the sky has different shades, right? So we're going to kind of make waves here for colors or for the variety. Okay, so I've got a bunch of like wave background designs, and then I can decide, I think I'm going with triangle. And I might make these smaller. This will be a lot of intricate work for me to color in on my own. But I want to show you just an idea here. I kind of wanted to curve those. Okay, so my mosaics there are just small. Whoop, see if we can see that. It's hard to see. Hopefully you can see. Anyways, I'll do it darker so we can see it. We're going to use a marker. I can find an orange. This is sort of like an orange. Okay, so I'm just going to use my marker. All right, and one of the things that separates mosaics from just any other design is that they usually have a boundary around them. So as I do this, you'll see I'll have a thicker boundary around that. And even for my, down here in my ocean, I might want to actually outline these in blue and make a thicker boundary around them to give that mosaic look. Just like in a mosaic art with the grout, we're going to use the contrast here, such as that. And I noticed for dark, I really got to do it dark to show up while I'm teaching. Okay, so this is just one nature theme, one idea. And then my sky is going to be all different. Maybe I'm going to make it a different shape on the next one. Maybe it goes the other direction. So your mosaics don't always have to be completely exact. In fact, that's kind of more fun if they are a little playful in how, if you were making a mosaic art and actually laying down mosaics, you could do it in a playful way. And I will give attention to all of these little mosaics in a different way. And my whole sky will then be many parts. So just like my sea and my boat and my sky, many smaller parts will make up the picture. So if you wanted to do a tree and the grass ground and a tree and then a sky, you pick the kind of design you want for the sky, the kind of design you want for the tree, and maybe a different design for the grass. And you kind of separate it off with the colors that match those objects. So that is the idea with technique 2, which is creating a nature scene using 3 to 4 different colors and mosaic techniques. Let's see what I wrote down here. Oh, I also wrote down that using masking tape, which I'll show in the final technique here, is great for kids because you can create the border already. This is pretty thick, but maybe you want a thick border so the kids can decorate in between. Otherwise, we can cut it, which I'll show you, to make a thinner border and put that in between. So far we've done the layered look and touched a little bit on the nature look. And we will move on to an abstract exploration with, I'm going to do a monogram of my name and some background designs. And you'll see how we can do it using tape. And let's see what else I say. You can practice different designs that you might use in a scene and have a reference of mosaic kind of ideas when you're making a mosaic art in this fashion. Okay, so let me start by doing this. I'm going to show you my screen, my page. Sure you can see. And I'm going to separate it into 5 parts. 1. I'm not being super precise here with the Sharpie. I want to make sure you can see. Okay. 5 segments. So I can do 5 different abstract mosaic designs. And it might have helped if I put the A on first before putting the black, but that's okay because I'm going to do that next. And I'll just incorporate those lines into it. No biggie. Masking tape is great. You don't even have to cut it, just tear it. I'm gonna put a big A right here in the middle. And so since I have lines, perhaps my design might include lines since I went right through those. Okay, I'm not doing this extremely perfect. Boom, there's the first letter of my name, A. All right, now I'm going to actually cut construction paper. So if you've got construction paper and you want to join along, I'm going to actually cut again some smaller segments and demonstrate laying down mosaics with little squares of construction paper. So we're going to cut some red and orange. And this time I'm not going to be overlapping. So I am going to be laying them with a border in between. And then I can decide what I want to fill that border with, if anything. I can keep it white if I want. Get a little cricket on me, so some mosaics are going to be skinnier than others, and that's okay too. Okay, I'm just going to make 4 here. I want to make sure I can create the designs I need. Hey, buddy. Oh. All right, so once again, I'm just going to cut my squares from my strips. This is something you could do for your kids if they're struggling with it, or challenge them, maybe do one at a time. You could draw prompt lines on if you needed to. Hey, Liam, come here for a second. I'm gonna have my kid use the bathroom just in case that's why he's stomping. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about, was how everything in our life works together. And that's a beautiful lesson of mosaics, especially when you can't plan things on lives, or you can't plan and orchestrate your life to go exactly as you want. So I'm going to do a little pattern here of red, orange, red, and I'll be able to show you. Kind of like a brick look. And then for my next one, I will alternate it to orange, red, orange. Once again, feel free to make yours look more precise and prettier than mine. For just teaching purposes, I want to show you it does not have to be perfect. Okay, buddy, come on over here while I'm finishing up. This one's a little big, so I'm going to, let me help Liam for a second. All right, I'm back. All right, life of lives. You never know what might happen. All right, so here I'm just making a little brick design and alternating to show you one technique of mosaic. And these are getting a little big for what I need. So you know what, as an art, everything is adjustable. And maybe this looks neat. They're kind of changing shape as they go. Nothing has to be exact. So the other lesson of mosaics is that all pieces of our life, all experiences fit together to bring us to where we are. Positive, negative, neutral, hard times, good times. They all teach us something. And I find the more we can look at our past and our life lessons that way, the more we can let go of regrets and expectations that we should have known, things that we didn't know back when we didn't know them, right? We're always learning and growing. So I'm going to stop with this for now. You know, I might put a different design in between those if I want. But for now, I'm just going to go with a brick design as my first of my 4 options. And as I continue across this, I will leave my A blank. Maybe my A will just be a bunch of black lines so that it can, you know, match since I put my lines through there. So let's move on to the next one. And I want to show you an example with triangles. So I'm going to use purple and blue for this one. I'm not going to be super small. I'm not going to cut too many here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 12 pieces. Seems like a good goal. Now you just take your square and you cut it line to line diagonal, and boom, you have a perfect triangle. Okay. So this is an example of a triangle mosaic look. So say you were making a C and you wanted to use cut pieces instead of drawn pieces. You could use, you know, 3 or 4 shades of blue, purples or greens or whatever, and put them all together to make your C. So I'm just going to cut these. All right, so now as I do triangles, which I kind of had that example of a picture frame, you can make the triangles interlock, and look like squares with the different colors. So what I'll do is put my blue, or my purple with a blue. And these are kind of large, so I'm going to go up and do the next one in the next corner. And then maybe for this design, as I have it, I will use little dots in between my mosaics. So make sure you can see here. I do a few more. I'm just alternating the colors of my triangles. So purple with blue. So here's something that I've dealt with the last few days, almost the last week, is my kiddo has not slept very well. So we've had more experience of slap happiness and fatigue for mom. But I had this workshop scheduled and I want to do it. And I'm going to do things, right? Regardless sometimes of how hard the night before was when you're scheduled to do something. So that's been a lesson in my life, is learning adaptation and patience when it comes to sleep, a little bit of creativity of getting naps in when I need them. All right, so there's that design that I'll be able to continue across. I like that one a lot. It looks a lot neater than the first one, right? My bricks that didn't fit on too well. But you know what? You got that with art. So you roll with it. Okay. So my next one, I don't know if I'm going to cut anything because I do have a circle hole puncher, which would be great to use right now. However, I'm aware that you probably, if you're watching this, you probably don't have a circle hole puncher, or at least the bigger ones that can make good pieces. So I'm going to just freehand like bubbles, and mosaic art can also be bubbles, circles with backdrops and stuff. So we're going to do that for the next design. And let's see, pick a green. I'm basically going to just make some different size circles. when you're making detailed art like this, it will take you a lot longer than some other, paintings or whatever. So a lot of art I've noticed really requires that slowing down and taking time to be with it, to learn the materials. Make sure you close that behind you. Close it behind you though. All right, so I'm just making a backdrop here with my bubbles. So this can be fun. Like I said, you don't have to make the perfect circles. Do your best. You might want to do colorful circles, not just one color. I'm kind of picking a theme here, but nothing too precise. All right, and I'll finish this kind of mosaic look in. All right. Now I'll show you another technique to make things actually look like rocks. So we're going to kind of create similar to this with using some gray for the next one. Let's see, I have like a silvery one. So silver, browns. So say you're making a mountain. This might be the look, the design that you would do for a mountain. So I'm going to not make it too small here. But we are going to put border techniques in here. Just random shapes at this point. Okay, and then I'm just gonna find a few places that I want to make a little darker, which adds a look of depth perhaps, or shadow. So a way to make things look a little 3D, perhaps. That they're a little bigger or wider. Okay, so there's my quick little mosaic rock design. I'm going to use some brown and color in. Maybe some are brown. So it's really your choice what you want to do with a rocky looking design. Got a little pink in here. Some rocks have a nice color to them. And we could just keep going and add a little bit more, a different brown or a different look. I'm going to put some lines in mine. A little texture. Just a design idea. If you're making anything with mountains or rocks. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, just one little technique. And I think the last thing we'll do, I'll teach here is a grass looking design. So I'm going to get my greens out here. And I think I'm going to make them look thin like grass, right? And we'll do like an alternating look with them. Make them kind of long. These are going to be like rectangles versus squares. Okay. All right, so I've cut them out. There's not a whole lot. Just want to kind of quickly demonstrate. So straight up and down. And then this one might just go a little lower. And my green might be a little higher. Some of these are bigger than others. That's okay too. Okay, so one design might be like alternating rectangles. And then you have a few lines of those. I want to make sure I work around my A, because that's the idea here. So I cut that one. All right, and so this is, since this is grass, I'll probably find a nice green and I will draw lines in the background. So my in-between looks a little unique. Okay. So for this one, I've got the 5 different designs, and there's countless mosaic designs. This is just 5 that were coming to me. If I have time, maybe I'll do one more on a different sheet. I know what I want to show you. A way that you can make mosaic designs like this, but colorful. So we're going to do that. And that'll be the last thing we do here before ending. Okay, so there's our designs that could be used as a reference on the back of a monogram. Lots of fun. It's going to be a little busy. That's the idea, though, is having fun and busyness. Now you could have a theme where you keep stick with one color, but lots of different designs, whatever you want. Okay, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to take 3 colors, especially the ones that I see in a sunset. So I'm going to need yellow, orange, and red. We are going to create our own mosaics that we could use then to paste on for like a sky. So where's that? Let's do red. Okay, so that is not really yellow. Let's make sure I find a real yellow. Okay, looks like a green yellow. All right, so I'm not going to be really precise with this. I'm just going to scribble basically lines with these 3 colors, not my glue stick, and then I can show you how we cut it out and make it into mosaics. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my lightest color, which is yellow. All right, so here we go. Yellow. Now I'm going to do orange. And lastly, a little bit of red. Not too much red because that'll overtake it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut a square out of this. It's not going to be huge. Just so I can show you. Okay, it's not even a perfect square. Now, I slice these. And boom, I've got my designer mosaics with a fun pattern. Okay, these might require me to cut individually. And then say I was going to make a sky picture. Now I can glue these on. And the cool thing is I can put them in alternating ways. I'm going to just cut a piece of this paper off to show you this. Okay, so I'm going to glue these on, but not so they look like a puzzle, but they look kind of, you know, alternating in the way that the lines are traveling. So this is just one idea for a sky. And they're not even going to fit perfectly because, like I said, I cut them kind of fast here. And if we have time, I can show an ocean wave like this too. I love just looking at maybe nature themes and how can we make mosaics that match that theme in a little bit more of a fun way. Nature scenes are really fun and easy to make. Or you could pick one object like a pumpkin or an apple and build a scene around it. Okay, so there's just an idea so far with my homemade mosaics of sunrise colors or sunset colors, either one. So now I'm going to do it with, let's see where I can do this. Let's use the blue. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's the other part of my wave. I'm going to take the blue marker. This will make a little bit more of a bold statement. And the purple, but not too much purple. So it's not too dark. Maybe a little bit more here. This is cool because you can have the kids make the design and then you cut out to make the mosaics. So especially anyone who might just want to make abstract designs, go for it. And then you can make mosaics out of it. So here's an example of how I made the blue and purple. And now I have fun mosaics. Okay, so you don't, the idea of this workshop is you don't have to go spend lots of money to do mosaic art. You can make a lot of the designs and the items that you would use for design yourself. It's fun to make yourself and it's much more inexpensive. So in the same way on this other side, I'm just going to glue on these pieces. I do recommend taking your time with your mosaic art, not feeling rushed, even taking a day break to return. My son and I do this a lot. We start a project that's a little bit more complicated and it's just not fun if you rush through it. And if you lose stamina, then that's time to take a break from a project. So art should always feel refreshing, in my opinion, and positive for you. Okay, so I'm going to have lots of extra pieces here, but there's my, you know, maybe an ocean design that you can make and have go. And then there's a sunshine shine. I can't say that. Sunshine design. There we go. All right. Let's review a few of these things that we've explored in Magical Mosaics. All right. So first off, the easiest thing to do, cut squares, glue them on, pick a word if you want, create a fun backdrop of mosaic art. If you wanted to get even more precise, you could trace these and make all the outlines kind of pop out with the Sharpie. You have that option. Okay. The next thing I worked on, which I'll need to finish because this is more of a, like one of those projects I have to spend some time on, a nature theme with mosaics. And start with something like 3 elements of nature: sky, ocean, and a boat in my example here. And I will shade these in, make the mosaics different and unique on each object. You could make it consistent throughout your whole design too. I'm going to make them unique in this one. Okay. So nature themes, fun way to use mosaics and explore with them. And then with my monogram, which is just started here, and I'll have to finish it, I chose 5 different designs. So I can reference back and look in case I want to include them in any other mosaic arts projects that we do. I've got some layered bricks going on here. I've got my triangles that made squares here, just a bubble mosaic design, a rock design, and a rectangle design that looks a lot like grass. All right. So there's those ideas. And then of course, how I finished making your own mosaics by just scribbling the colors and cutting, pasting on. All right. I would love to know your feedback. If there's any of these 3 that you really, really liked and would like to try. The one thing I didn't demonstrate, which I might demonstrate and show later in my group, is actually putting the masking tape down on a project for your child to decorate. So if I have a few minutes, it's worthy of showing, just because it makes such a nice border. And masking tape is the best tape to use because it comes off so easily and will not rip paper. Scotch tape is not as forgiving, so remember that. So I'll just show a quick example here of putting. Okay, I'm not going to color it in necessarily right now, but there's a final thing I wanted to show you, how you can just separate segments. Maybe they're bigger, you know, mosaic pieces, especially with younger children. This is the easiest way to start. Separate it, let the children decorate, and then once it's dry, remove the tape. All right. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed teaching it. I'm going to get a nap in today, I hope, and hopefully my son also. So thanks so much, and I will see you in the group, and I will share my examples later.